Welcome back, everyone. After the last Assateague trip, a couple people in the comments asked about dealing with water. Let's cover it. Everything about water, water storage, water planning, hydration reservoirs, all that stuff. Let's go. Okay, let's start with planning. I plan on, and I think this is pretty much standard, a gallon of water per person per day.
We do encourage you to bring at least a gallon of water per person per day.
Yeah. A lot of the places that I go, I have to bring water in. There is not water that I can filter. And so that is almost all of the barrier islands on the east coast of the United States. So Cape Lookout, Outer Banks, Assateague, Shackleford Banks, all of those places I have to bring water in. When I paddle in Alaska, there is generally water, but I will still start with a fair amount of water in the boat. And to do that, I use MSR dromedary bags. Let's slide over to the H2O bin, the big H2O bin. Let's go. Okay, H2O bin is pretty big because I got a lot of gear for this. Oh, it's not as crowded as I thought it would be. This is the mainstay. This is the MSR dromedary bag. One of the things I like about the droms is the cap, which is essentially Nalgene lid size. It's also 3 positions, so easy to fill there with the Nalgene lid, and then a medium size, and then a really small size for like washing your hands or something like that. They have updated this lid, and I gotta tell you, if I have to replace this and can't salvage the lid, I might go to a different brand. And there are lots of different brands. There's like a million that you could use, and I think it's just finding what works for you. I like the handles on these. I like this because it's easy to hang it, but I have found that it can be difficult to pour when they're really full. And that's why I've been bringing this guy along with me, which I got from Sawyer. So it's, again, Nalgene size lid up here. I really like, if I can, to keep those lids uniform. So like if you lose one, it's easy enough to replace. And then small but not tiny lid down here. This is really nice for filling water bottles. So in general, and this is a gallon, in general, I will pack these 2. If I need more, this is the old lightweight drum, and I like this one because it's a different color, and I will frequently set this up to filter via gravity. So this is water that still needs to be filtered. Just hook a hose up to here, to a Sawyer water filter, to the big drum, and I just remember that red is dirty, is my dirty bag. I've got a bunch of these smaller Sawyer bags because I do use Sawyer water filters. These are really hard to fill from like a creek. That wide mouth is much easier to deal with. I also have this, which is designed as a shower, made by Survive Outdoors. This is fine. I've used this once or twice. It's nice in a pinch at the beach, but I'm not a huge fan. And then I've got water bottles everywhere. I've got water bottles here. I've got water bottles there. I've got water bottles upstairs in my office. And I've got hydration reservoirs. So I've got a lot of this stuff based on what I'm doing and what I want to do or need to do. And so variation is key. It's good to have those options. Another thing that comes up pretty frequently is keeping them clean. This is my platypus hydration reservoir. If you're buying a hydration reservoir, they come in sizes generally 1, 2, and 3. A couple companies make a 1.5. Always buy the largest one you can. It's only a few dollars more. You don't have to fill it all the way. But then if down the road you realize, oh, I'm doing a big trip, I'd like to be able to carry more water, you don't have to buy a whole other reservoir. A lot of people ask me, how do I keep them clean? And it's actually very, very simple to keep these clean if all you put in them is water. So all I ever put in hydration reservoirs or those water storage bags is water. You will not get crazy bacterial growth until you add something with sugar, like a Scratch Labs or a Noon or a drink mix or whatever. These are very easy to keep clean, assuming you only put water in them. And it's not hard. I'll leave the lid off with maybe the opening, something stuck in the opening so there's some airflow. That's really all I do. So I'm going to leave that just to hang there. The next time I'm in the gear vault, I'll grab it, make sure it's dry, and put it away. I really don't go much crazier than that. They sell like bag cleaning kits and stuff like that. There was once where I had a hose that had some mold in it, and I could have bought a special little tiny brush to go in there. I was like, you know what, for like $2 more, I can buy a new hose. But that was once in like 30 years. So not a big deal. That should be fine and dry by tomorrow. I had a reader suggest that he makes a big ball of paper towel and sticks it in there, to which I asked, how do you get it out? And he was like, I guess I can just reach it and get it out. I've never had to do that. I've never really had an issue. However, if that still makes you nervous, something that you can do is when it's empty and flat, store it in your freezer. So you can put it in the freezer on a shelf, store it flat. There won't be any bacterial growth because it'll be frozen. So no worries. Then pull it out. I will actually sometimes leave it about 1/3 of the way filled with water, and then that will freeze, which then when I'm ready to go do something, I'll just add water. I'll have ice water. It's super nice, super easy, which is what I really like. But for the most part, you just saw I just pulled it out of that bin. The lid was off, but other than that, I did very little to keep it clean. Just let it dry. Another thing you'll notice if you listen closely, this is really noisy. If this was on my back, every time I took a step, that would make a lot of noise. Super simple to fix that. All you have to do is get the air out. So if you hold it upside down, essentially suck the air out, suck until you get water. Now there's no noise. Super nice. Oh, I actually left a little bit of air in there. Should have done a little bit more, but almost no noise. So again, super easy. If there's no air, you won't have sound, you won't have sloshing. And you can do that even if you only put 1 liter of water in it, you can suck out all that air. Don't like kill yourself. So that's super simple. That is hydration reservoirs, very easy. Something that I mentioned earlier was a gallon of water per person. A gallon of water weighs about 8 pounds. So a liter of water weighs about 2.2 pounds. A gallon is actually a little bit more than 8 pounds. That can get super heavy. When I'm paddling in my kayak, I put that big 10-liter drum, so that's 2.5 gallons or 2.5 days of water, in front of my feet, in front of the pedals. If you can't do that, because if say you're too tall, you don't have that space, put it in one of your storage compartments closest to the center of the boat as you can. And I do them horizontally so that it's spreading out that weight. I think that that works really well. If I'm doing a hydration reservoir like this one, it'll go in a deck bag on the top of the deck. In general, I don't like a lot of things on the deck, particularly something that's heavy. It's never been an issue. In theory, it could grab air, making you a little bit more prone to weathercocking and things like that. I haven't really experienced that, but it is possible. I like to keep a clean deck. I usually don't do a deck bag with a hydration reservoir. About the only times that I do is someplace really hot where I really want to make sure I am drinking a lot of water. Another thing that I've done with this is if you don't have a deck bag, just leave it on in the cockpit, like under your knees, and run the hose up through your spray, through the tunnel of your spray skirt. So it can come right up out here. And then the only thing you have to be careful of is when you get out of the boat, you are sort of tethered to it. I've found that if you try and snake it out through the cockpit opening, it will lead that spray skirt generally to pop, at least on my Delta, which is my biggest complaint with my Delta, is that it is prone to pop a spray skirt. Another thing that I do is I generally pack in 2 water bottles. Not always 2 1-liters, sometimes a big one, a 32 ounce, a 1 liter, and a 16 ounce. And I don't generally count them towards the water count for the trip. So if I'm doing 4 days, that's 4 gallons. I generally don't count these unless it's a big trip and I'm having a hard time like getting enough water in the boat. Then I will include these in the count. But this way I have ways to move water around. If I want to make a beverage, I'll make it in this. As I said, I won't make it in the reservoir. If I want a hot drink, I can make it in here. It gives me tons of options in terms of sort of managing water and controlling water while I'm adventuring. So I really like having the options of water bottles to move water around. So as I said, I generally use Sawyer water filters. This is actually a pretty old Sawyer water filter. They now look more like this. I think these are great. They're like 30 bucks. They work really well. I wish that they were at Nalgene size or there was a Nalgene size adapter. They are, I believe, Pepsi thread. So anything made by Pepsi brand will thread onto this, like smart water bottles, things like that. Those are all owned by Pepsi. Coke and Platypus bags are actually slightly different. I have used them. They can leak a little bit, but not the end of the world. So I'm a big fan. But again, there are so many options for water filters. It's about finding something that works for you. I've used a lot of filters in the past, from MSRs to Catadynes, tons of options in terms of filter choices. I like those because I can filter, fill a bag, filter it real quick, be done with it, or I can turn that into a gravity system like I talked about. There are tons of options for ways to use those. I tend to think of those as like Tinker Toys for water filters. If you can think about it, you can build it. And like the quick release on this Platypus right here, these are somewhat universal. I actually did a video about this a long time ago that like no one watched, but you can buy plugs and clips and hoses that all work together and will work with that Sawyer stuff. Like if I pull this hose off this fitting, that will connect right to the bottom of a Sawyer. So, hey everyone, Brett from the future. There's a couple things I want to add. The first is, if it is raining, you can definitely collect that water and drink it. What happens is that when the water evaporates, it leaves behind anything that you wouldn't want to drink. It then recondenses and falls in rain. So we will frequently, particularly in Alaska, collect rainwater off of tarps or the guy lines connecting to tents. That makes it super easy. The other thing I want to add, something I've been talking about for years, I think I included this in a video at some point. What I really want is a small portable desalinator. I want a Sawyer squeeze that is a desalinator. That would be absolutely amazing. Small portable desalinators do exist, but they are primarily for emergency use. Catadyne makes one, but I think that A, I think they're very expensive, and B, I really think they're designed for like life rafts. They're not designed for like daily use on a kayaking trip. They also, even though they're smaller, don't look particularly small. Okay, back to me. I think that covers it. If you have any questions, something that I didn't cover, put it down below in the comments and I will absolutely answer it and let you know. Maybe I'll do an addendum if it's a good enough one that I missed, which is not out of the question. If you found this helpful, enjoyable, interesting, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe. My gear lists and all this stuff is available on Ko-fi. And in fact, after the acetique video, gear packing video, I made some changes to the gear list. So there is gear list version 5 on Ko-fi. Links are down below. But as always, when I do this stuff, if you have bought a copy of the gear list in the past and you want the new one, just email me and I'll send you the new one. I don't care. And in fact, if you're like, you know what, I'm not comfortable making a transaction online, or I don't have the $5 or whatever, and you want a copy of the gear list, I am happy to send it to you. Send me an email, brett@adventureotaku.com. I'll send you the gear list. It's $5. If it's going to help you, I'm cool doing it. So I think that's it. All right. I'll see you on the water.